Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
This is Serious Privacy by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Paul Breitbart and Kay Royal.
On 28 January 1981, the Council of Europe opened up the Convention 108 on the automated processing of personal data for signatures. The 46 member countries of the Council of Europe, and by now also countries outside of the Council, are able to sign up and ratify the world's first globally binding instrument on the protection of personal data. To honor that moment, since 2007, the privacy community celebrates International Data Protection Day. And for us here at Serious Privacy, it is the day of our season launch. Today, Kay and I talk about many of the recent developments in data protection, from the state of legislation to the cyber attack on the Red Cross, and from a cancelled class action to cancelled analytics programs. And we play a new game, Privia Pursuit. Let us know if you think it has any potential. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. Paul, before we jump into Season 3, oh my goodness, Season 3.
Season 3, I know. And happy Data Protection Day, everybody.
Happy Data Privacy Day. By the way...
No, we're not going to do this again, Kay.
You know, hashtag DPD.
Very good.
And it has been 1 month since Christmas that we are actually recording this. So we'll post it in 3 days for Data Privacy Day. But it's been 1 month till Christmas, so I'm going to make up an unexpected question. What was your best gift?
The best gift is a gift that is still forthcoming, actually. Because there is a very special book coming out this spring that my mother got for me. And I'm still waiting for it to appear. One of the best musea in the Netherlands here in The Hague is called the Mauritshuis, which is where you find The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Vermeer, and also The View on Delft, and The Bull by Potter, and all other wonderful paintings. The Goldfinch. And it's a tiny, tiny museum, but with a massive collection of fine art. And they celebrate, I believe, 200 or 250 years of being a museum. So they have a special anniversary book coming up. And that was on my Christmas list.
That is awesome. Love it. Love it. I'd have to say...
So how about you?
You know, I'm going to say it wasn't a gift from anyone necessarily, but the best thing I got for Christmas was the PhD. My degree is actually dated December 25th.
Oh, wow. That's special.
So, and so I'm excited about that. And no, I don't actually have my degree yet. I got the frame ready to go, everything. But
still waiting for that piece of paper.
Still waiting on that piece of paper. There we go. The mail apparently is just atrocious right now in the U.S. It's horrible. So, all right, well, let's dive into our first episode of Season 3, which we do not have a guest lined up today. I can't say that Paul and I did that deliberately, but we don't. And I'm actually okay with that because we've heard from a lot of our listeners. They really love the shows when it's just me and you getting down to the nitty-gritty of what the heck's going on in the privacy world.
Oh, but nothing happened over Christmas and the first weeks of January, right? I mean, it was very quiet on the data protection front.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I thought I woke up with this fabulous idea this morning because it's in the evening your time and in the morning my time because I'm in Arizona. So right now we're on Mountain Time. And what time is it for you right now that we're recording?
It's just past 5 p.m.
just past 5 p.m. So, his day ends as my day begins. And for so long, we overlapped. The end of his day and the beginning of my day was the only work hours we really had was 3 or 4 hours. I did volunteer to wake up early at, 6 or 7 a.m. to try to extend your interactive period there.
Yeah, but you're useless at that time before your coffee, so.
It's like
no offense, but it's true.
Well, it's like the 3 rules of manufacturing, right? You get on time, you get speed, you get on time, you get quality, or you get cost. That's it. So just, extrapolate that to what you get from me. You don't get all 3, that's for sure. But I thought maybe we could play a little game of Privia. I can't even say it. Privia Pursuit. Privacy Trivia Pursuit. I'm going to just call it Privia Pursuit.
Privia Pursuit. Sounds very good.
Privia Pursuit. So I don't have any questions prepped at the top of my mind, but I'm going to hit you with one that I'm about to talk about. So what recently proposed, I'll just call it privacy laws, out of what country have rolled into the definition both personal and non-personal data that they are protecting?
Oh, that must be India. That must be India. And unfortunately, we don't have the final version of the India law yet. It's still in Congress. We had hoped for it to be adopted before Christmas, but we are still in the legislative process. But indeed, India has this nice and broad definition. So you are going to talk about India in a TrustArc webinar, right?
Yes, about to start it. So sorry for everyone that's listening. And by the time you get this, it'll be too late to sign up. However, our webinars are always available online for free for your enjoyment. So please do.
So what's the 2-minute summary of the webinar for everybody listening now?
It's going to be all about India. So we thought at the end of 2021 that we were actually going to have a surprise passage because they were moving really, really quickly, and then they were out for the holidays. So they're, I think, back in session now. And this report has been commissioned. I guess commission's not the right word, but they have the report on the law and what should or should not be happening. And so we actually expect them to be moving pretty quickly from this moment out. Now, we might be shocked and they might not. So the webinar is all about India's law as we understand it now. If there's any changes we see coming, which, I mean, personally, I don't see any changes coming, although there are some items in the report that are recommended. And it's going to compare it also to the CCPA, CPRA, GDPR, and the PIPL, so you can start to operationally see how this might impact your privacy program. And it's going to be myself and Megan McCluskey, a good friend of yours.
Absolutely. So this is one to listen to. You want a question back, right?
Yes. Let's see if I'm as good as you are.
Please name 3 of the at least 5 European data protection authorities that have made comments about Google Analytics.
Ooh, okay. So we definitely have Austria because they just came down with their decision on I think it was a medical web. And I think the cookie was CookieBot that got so toasted. Haha, toasted cookies. The European Data Protection Supervisor actually just issued reprimands to the European Parliament, I believe, on their collection. And I only had to list another one. I mean, we'd like to say Germany or heck, we're just going to go with France because France is the most. No. I was going to say, France is the most active when it comes to the cookies. My other guess was going to be Germany.
For the cookies, you are right, but not yet for Google Analytics. For Google Analytics, we've heard from the Danish, from the DPA from Guernsey, who took away their own Google Analytics implementation. And we heard from the Dutch Data Protection Authority. And the Dutch have always been the odd one out here because they have always allowed Google Analytics if you followed a certain implementation procedure.
Right.
They have a very extensive manual on their website how you do that. And if you followed that, they would be okay with considering Google Analytics as a first-party cookie, or at least a cookie that would not require explicit consent from the user. But immediately following the Austrian decision, the Dutch DPA updated their guidance document with a notice saying this guidance may very well change in the near future because we are currently investigating multiple cases and those decisions are impending, are forthcoming. So please be aware that this guidance may change, which is a very strange thing for a DPA to do because basically they are preempting their own decision by saying, well, folks, probably we are not going to allow this any longer.
Right. And I'm actually diving into the Google Analytics to try to see what it is that companies need to use if they're going to continue to use Google Analytics. And it's going to be interesting to find a way. There were a few items that you could hang your hat on in each of the decisions. And I'm thinking of the Austrian and the data protection supervisor decision. Mm-hmm. There were a few items you could hang your hat on to say, well, if we don't do that, we're probably okay. But frankly, it all comes down to Google's actions and not the data controller's actions, because in most cases, because the data controller can put in the right agreements with Google, it's the fact that Google doesn't follow the agreements.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. And
they say they do, but they don't.
Well, and Google is also contradicting themselves in what they do or do not do. Because if you look at their blog post, which we'll link in the show notes, but they say on the one hand that they are not processing and collecting personal data, and on the other hand that you can use the data rights to file access requests for your personal data collected via Google Analytics. So it seems to be a bit contradictory. And the obvious solution for Google here would be to just offer a European data center for the Google Analytics data, which they currently don't. Right. That would already solve for a lot of organizations some of the problems.
Right.
That is not to say that I fully agree with the decisions, because yes, the risk-based approach was argued in the cases. I'm not convinced that it was well argued, but it was argued. But actually, I don't see a lot of the risk that could be involved in analytics data. It has never been requested by governments. I'm not sure that it is the most effective way to find out what people are doing online by tracking them. I think there are more efficient ways if security services are after somebody to find out what they are doing online than following a Google Analytics trail. So I'm not sure about the risk of the data, and I'm also not sure about the likelihood that that risk will ever occur.
Right. Because in a risk, you can't just consider what is the risk should there be a breach or should the data be discovered. You also have to consider the likelihood of the risk happening. And I mean, that's risk analysis across the board. Mm-hmm. What's the likelihood of something happening? And if it did, what would be the impact? And there you calculate your risk from that. So that was my part with the decision that I couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, this is kind of taking a stance to take a stance. You're supposed to be protecting the people. What are you protecting the people from?
Yeah, it is a very strict interpretation of the GDPR, which is in principle in line with the guidance that the data protection authorities gave last summer on international transfers, but which we all had hoped that they would move a little bit away from, also given the exemptions that they would allow, and also to have some realism, I think, is what we need here too. Yes, GDPR is important, the fundamental rights to privacy and data protection. I'm certainly not going to challenge those on Data Protection Day, but I do believe that a real risk-based approach in combination with proper documentation and accountability and all that comes with it, that should be possible. So I'm very curious to see whether any of these cases will end up in the courts and whether this will go back before the Court of Justice of the European Union.
Right. And I will say that from a practical perspective, which you know have to take into account too, is that expecting companies to be able to do a transfer impact assessment, which is the underlying risk to Google, is that it's transferred to the U.S. and uncontrolled and therefore subject to surveillance. The transfer risk assessments that are now coming out from companies sending it to their processors or sub-processors to be able to answer, they're driving me batty. They're like, what laws apply that might impact personal data? There are thousands of laws that impact personal data, thousands. please list all the laws that might apply. Really? Please list the ones that allow government to access data. Now, here's the thing. Almost every law allows government access to data because there's almost always an exception for law enforcement purposes. Any law that doesn't have that exception is, in practical measures, going to have that exception anyway, because you have to be able to do it, whether it's a danger to someone's life or a danger to the country. There's almost always an exception. And then there is the whole, do you know of any practices where the government doesn't follow the restrictions? Yeah.
Have you ever read that book by Edward Snowden that lists a few of those exceptions?
Right. And then it's like, and do you or will you or any of your subprocessors or their subprocessors ever be subject to a government access request that you would probably have to respond to?
Well, let me look in my crystal ball. Yes.
It's like, of course we will. There are warrants and subpoenas and everything that could be issued from everything from a local court to a national court to a foreign court. Oh, good Lord.
Which is all still not necessarily a problem, as long as you consider them necessary and proportionate in a democratic society as understood in Europe.
Right.
Not in the US. That's the big difference.
Well, and the questions are so broad. Do you know of any practices? Yes, I know of tons of practices. However, none of them are applicable to us. I'm sorry. I really want to put in there, have you considered the data that you're actually sharing with us? Because all you're buying is blank, 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 which the only personal information in there is going to be your authorized users. And all we have is their name, their job title, their email, and then whatever they put into the system.
And their IP address.
Yeah, whatever they put into the system. So any government that's going to come after that data already has that data.
Quite likely.
So, okay, my question next. Ooh, this is going to be an interesting one. How do I phrase this? You know what? I'm not going to go really hard because we're not really here to stump people. But what law passed in 2021 that wasn't really on anyone's radar to pass? This is a trick question.
Rwanda, Saudi Arabia, China,
Quebec,
Thailand.
Keep going. Trick question.
No, Thailand was before, I guess. But yeah, I think Saudi Arabia for me was probably the most surprising one. I mean, China, we knew for years that it would be coming. We just didn't know when.
We just didn't know when.
Oops, it was there. But we knew it was coming. Saudi Arabia, I had no idea that they were working on data protection legislation until it suddenly was there.
Until boom, here we go, Saudi Arabia. Did you see that coming?
Now it doesn't help that I don't speak Arabic, but I mean, I also don't speak Chinese, so...
So we are very reliant on translations out there, hoping that laws actually pass an official English translation. And if you are a legislator in a country that has passed a law that does not have an official English translation, please let me encourage you to encourage that. Because the ones that you're likely more concerned about trying to control their actions need the English version.
You mean like the Dutch Implementation Act of the GDPR has not been translated officially into English?
Yeah.
At least not the last time I checked.
It would be very helpful, especially for these mega global corporations that, you know, are the ones that most countries are really worried about.
Would you maybe say that the same would apply to regulator decisions, that it's helpful if they are translated into English?
Yes. I mean, English rules the world. No. I mean, seriously, though, I'm sorry. It's a fact of life.
But still, you have the NIMIDY research team.
Yeah.
So why would you care? You have your translations ready for you.
My NIMIDY research team is the best research team in the world.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Still need to secure my budget to get a subscription.
And we're not trying to say that countries need to pander to us. We're not asking for that. What we're asking is an official thing that we can actually follow, because the translations are typically unofficial, and there's various versions of them that use different wording or different ideas in their translation. And so kind of like a contract, it'd be really nice if we had something that was blessed by the country that we could rely on and say, this is what we need to do.
Well, I wouldn't mind some pandering, for example, from the US government in wrapping up the negotiations on Privacy Shield or in adopting federal privacy laws, just to name a few examples.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. But I will say I was a little surprised by Quebec Bill 64.
Yeah, that was a positive surprise.
Yeah, that was really nice. They passed it quickly.
We've got a full episode on that,
Yeah.
so people can listen to sometime November-ish, I think we recorded.
I think it was.
Because I think we recorded while I was in Senegal.
Yeah, because it was Jennifer Stoddard and it was Constantine Karbaliotis, affectionately known as CK to people. I laugh at that, but love it. And yeah, a really, really good episode talking about that. But this is the first real law in Canada that has.
True. And we'll see whether the National Data Protection Law will get that too.
Yeah.
Question for you. Why was the first data protection class action in Europe thrown out?
See, you go all these really horrible regulator, legislative things. Why was the first class action thrown out? It wasn't for standing. Why can I not remember? I can't remember.
It is actually linked to standing.
Okay.
This is a case from the Netherlands where the Privacy Collective pursued Salesforce and Oracle for illegal tracking online, and they claimed to have to act on behalf of lots of consumers who just had to click a link to opt in to be part of the court case. And the court ruled that this was insufficient expression of desire of the claimants.
This is why standing came to mind.
That they actually wanted to be part of the case. So there was an insufficient link between the class and the people they claimed to represent.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So I'm done with it. I've lost both questions. So we're just going to leave it at that. It was my idea and I suck at it. So mainly I suck at Trivial Pursuit in general, even though I have the knowledge. My brain is not one that can just bring random facts forward on demand. Other than Disney. Generally Disney, I can answer random questions.
Have you seen the latest one already?
Oh, Encanto?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course I have. It's fabulous. I love the Disney movies. I think they're getting really cool. I love the picture that was going around LinkedIn of the person's child standing next to the Encanto picture, the little Timothy, and it looked identical and said, this is why Disney is getting better.
Well, if we do get Chris Hoff on the podcast in one of the coming episodes, you know that there is one thing we need to do. We need to talk. No.
Oh.
Sorry, that's a very bad joke.
No, but
we need to talk about Bruno Giancarelli with him because it's all about the Privacy Shield negotiations.
It is, and we do. We have Chris Hoff that has agreed to come on the podcast. We will be scheduling that. Very, very excited about that. We have some other guests already lined up. We haven't scheduled the exact dates we're going to have them, but we're lining up our guests. And please don't hesitate to let us know if there are any particular you would like to see on the episode. As you know, we kind of go back and forth between, privacy officers at corporations, major corporations you might know of, or people that are prominent in the privacy community, legislators, regulators, people on the state level, people on the national level, as well as people that may not be quite so well known, but their area of expertise or maybe their startup company or what they're doing is absolutely fascinating to people that are here. I mean, a couple of the ones that come to mind are some of the CEOs of some startup companies like that we worked on, had an episode on that, and Jeff Jockish.
Of course.
That comes
and I would also like to hear more this season from Asia and Latin America. If we can get people from there to join us, that would certainly be nice. From Asia, it will, of course, always be a challenge with time zones, but we'll manage somehow.
Oh, absolutely. And one that I know I want on is one of my favorite law students from before, Victoria Beckman now, and she's at Microsoft. I'm not inviting her because she's at Microsoft. She was a student that came over to the U.S. She wasn't a student at the time, from Columbia. And she was an engineer, and she landed in the U.S. on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And didn't speak English and was trapped. Her story is fascinating, and she is an amazing young woman. Very, very advancing in the privacy field. I love to see her progress. She's one of the ones I am delighted to say I knew her when. So I haven't asked her yet, although maybe casually I have. But yeah, she's one I hope to come on, and she can probably give us some more insight to others that specialize in the Latin America region, especially people in Brazil. I'd like to go back and catch up with Derso and some of these others as to what's moving and shaking and rocking, what has changed, things like that.
So yeah, and if you are that expert on the Saudi Arabian data protection law.
Yes. Okay, so that's kind of what's coming for the year. What else? What else do we have?
Well, I will be sharing going forward some first experiences from my new role.
I am eager to hear those.
I think as people have heard in previous episodes, I have now left TrustArc. And I've joined a company called Katawiki, which is an online auction for special. So then you need to think about paintings and furniture and cars and wines and whiskeys and collectibles, comic book collections and things like that. You might actually find some Betty Boop things on the auction site.
Ooh, see, look at him getting new customers.
Although I'm not completely sure yet whether you are allowed to create an account from the US.
Oh, I'll try it and let you know what the experience is.
We are restricted for a number of countries also to make sure that we can indeed stay within the boundaries of the legislation of all of the countries, because you can imagine that there are things that people want to put to auction that are restricted.
Why does that not surprise me?
Ivory pianos, for example. Weapons that no longer function but that have a historic value. So
are there nuclear
kind of
warheads for auction? I mean...
No, not yet. And I doubt that those would anytime soon be allowed. But, for example, old guns, those could be auctioned if they are no longer functional.
Oh, wow.
So if you can't shoot them anymore. But they could be historical artifacts that people would like to keep or put in an exposition. Apparently, we sell cars. Very expensive, very pretty cars.
Oh, wow.
But also new artworks directly from the artist. So it's a pretty wide collection. So you can imagine that the legal team has been busy with all of those regulations.
Oh yeah.
Now I get to do all the privacy aspects of that job. So
Now how large is the legal team?
We are currently 7.
Okay. Wow.
And expanding. So the privacy team is 1.
But it's you, so that's worth at least 7.
I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting, and I think I'll be learning a lot also what it means to be in-house instead of being on the sideline giving advice to others.
Yeah, which Paul and I definitely stay in touch with our own private chat about the podcast, but of course that allows you messaging, so at any time, I can poke Paul and ask, what's on his mind right now? What's troubling him? I'm feeling burning coming from across the ocean. Someone's pulling his hair out. No, actually, I have no doubt that you're actually going to do a fabulous job with them. And
well, it is strange to be working after 5.5 years, to be working in my own time zone again, and to have a schedule that's just filled from 9 to 5.
Oh, that's crazy. Crazy talk. Why would you want quality of life, Paul? I mean, hey, that meant you never had to do anything in the mornings.
I'd give you one word answer. European.
Oh my goodness, that is true. Well, I actually do believe in quality of life too, but I guess I'm living the whole, if you love what you do, you're never really working.
No, that's true. That's why I have multiple other roles in privacy as well. So life will continue to be busy. My days will continue to be filled, but I'll try to keep an eye on everything that will be happening in data protection. At some point, we will also need to talk about the new EDPB guidance on the right of access.
Yes.
But that means that I first will need to find time to read them.
Yeah, no. I would say it's no longer your job.
It's still my job.
I mean, it still is. It's just not the analysis for how it applies to all other companies, not necessarily.
Yeah, given that I'm still onboarding and that half of my week is filled with onboarding activities and getting to know people, which is amazing. I've never been onboarded into a company this professionally. No offense to any of my former employers, but they have really found a way to make remote onboarding work.
Wow, nice.
Which is really nice. So yeah, some things are just put on the reading list for later this month or later this year.
Very nice. There you go. So with that and the lack of your time to be able to do some of the things that you've been doing for years and years and years, you're also still teaching, right?
Yes, I am still teaching. We have a course coming up next month in Lisbon with some online seats available as well, so you can still register for that. And we have the first edition of the Red Cross course coming up for this year as well, the Data Protection and Humanitarian Action, which will be the final week of March in Kenya.
Oh, wow. Didn't I read something recently about a hacker of the Red Cross?
Yeah, that's pretty horrible. There has been a big cyber attack against the Red Cross, especially targeted at the database where the Restoring Family Links data was hosted.
And that is sacrosanct.
So all the people who are looking for each other, who have been out of touch because of a conflict somewhere in the world, they apparently deliberately targeted that database. And
that's horrible.
It is. In a LinkedIn post, I called it the lowest kind of low. It's, that cyber criminals want to target companies to make money or even target governments. Sure, do what you need to do if you really have to, but to target a humanitarian organization that's really only there to help people find each other again, that's just horrible.
Yeah, it really is.
And I know the teams at the Red Cross are working really hard to ensure that none of this data gets out, that all the breaches that occurred are ended, and that they are back on track. But it's a horrible way to start a new year.
I agree, and I agree with you. It's the lowest of the low, and I don't know why you expect hackers to have any ethics or feelings about society as a whole, but that sucks. That's like, I don't know, that's like robbing an old folks' home.
It is, and it's part of also what we talked about with Eric Cole earlier last year in his book, and of course there are the good guys, but these are certainly not the good guys.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the hackers, the bad guys, it's kind of table stakes for them to try to hack. It's kind of table stakes for them to try to hack vendors, your supply chain, because those are usually low-hanging fruit. They can go after them easily. And so we know that we're not dealing with, the classy of the classes. But still, that's horrible. So as we move into closing out, we're going to continue to try to aim for about 35 to 40 minutes. Actually, we're going to aim for 30 to 35. But privacy is
with a
privacy.
guess you easily go over.
Exactly. So I wanted to leave y'all with just a quick update on U.S. laws is that there are 9 states that are carryovers from 2021 that the privacy laws are still in effect for this year. It's Alaska, Massachusetts, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Vermont. If you're interested in understanding why do states have carryover laws and how do we see such discrepancies, in our white paper, the So Many States, So Many Laws, I give a short explanation about the U.S. legislative process on a state level. There are some states that don't have 2022 sessions. So even though we may have seen some privacy bills proposed in these, we're not going to see a movement this year. That's Montana, Nevada, North Dakota, and Texas.
Is that because of the elections? Is that because of the elections in November that they just don't meet all year?
Well, it's just the Congress doesn't meet. The House of Representatives or the Senate on the state level, they don't meet. So they won't have any bills or anything to discuss this year. We have had some states that have already filed. I might be a week or two outdated right now, but Florida, Maryland, Washington have already proposed their bills. Arizona, Connecticut, Minnesota, and Mississippi have already been public about their intent to refile. We had the Arizona legislature here on our show last year, so I'll reach back out and catch up with him, see what's going on there. So we may have talked about what happened in 2021 and some of the moving and the rocking that we saw, but we'll also be watching carefully for what's going to happen in 2022. I have no predictions on which countries outside of India and Israel are going to pass laws this year. I don't know.
No, we'll see. I'm hopeful for Canada.
Yeah, that's the one I'm hoping.
But apart from that, no, we will see what will happen. But we'll keep an eye out, and if there is a major new law, of course, we'll bring you up to speed.
Yep, we'll give you the lowdown right here.
I'm curious to see whether in Washington, the fourth or the fifth time lucky.
Right?
One of these years they will nail it.
Come on, something has to happen. We can't even say third time lucky. It's multiple time lucky, but something has to happen. Whether or not something's going to happen on the U.S. federal level,
not this year.
We know what the blockers are. It takes forever and ever and ever to re-educate the new ones coming in and get people to see eye to eye, especially with the two controversial issues over the private right of action and the preemption on both sides. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I'm not holding my breath on that, people. I'm just not. I will say that the U.S. Supreme Court just issued a decision about OSHA. OSHA mandated that employers had to have a vaccine mandate, and anyone not vaccinated had to get weekly testing. And the U.S. Supreme Court threw it out and said OSHA went beyond their power. And I disagree. I'm sorry. Go figure. I disagree with the U.S. Supreme Court on this because it seemed like they hung their hat. Why am I using that phrase today? I don't think I've ever used that phrase. Anyway, they seem to have relied on the justification that OSHA did not have the authority to go that far, and they based it on the fact that Congress had had the opportunity to go that far itself and had chosen not to do so. So therefore, how could a regulatory agency actually go further than Congress would do itself? Well, that's why the regulatory agencies were created, because they have the experience and the expertise in narrow matters that you can never expect Congress to have, because elections, they overturn. People don't come with, specific skill sets. And so you do rely on the regulatory agencies to do this. Think of the Environmental Protection Agency. So you would expect OSHA to be able to go this far because they actually do have the expertise that Congress doesn't. And Congress was wise enough to give that power to the agencies for that reason. So I disagree with their logic, but apparently you can't appeal a United States Supreme Court decision. The only thing you can really do is Congress can change the requirements for the agencies and give them that power.
Well, on that note, let's hope for some agencies with lawmaking possibilities in the privacy sphere.
Yes.
I think the Federal Trade Commission is ramping up their privacy team, so
I'm excited about that.
Maybe we can expect some things from there. And in the meantime, we will wrap up this episode of Serious Privacy. And I thank everybody for listening to us. We are happy to be
Season 3, let's go.
Indeed, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please reach out to us via seriousprivacy@trustarc.com or via info@seriousprivacy.eu, that exists too now, or via Twitter at @podcastprivacy. You will find us on LinkedIn as well. Just look for Serious Privacy. You will find Kay on Twitter as Heart of Privacy and myself as Europol B. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMD research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.